Grimsby, a factory making machinery for manufacturers. The Chancellor here to explain how he's encouraging an economic recovery after the COVID-19 slump. But some say that slump would not have been as great and our health better if there'd been a circuit-breaking lockdown in September.
Many of the scientists were arguing for a lockdown. Dominic Cummings was arguing for a lockdown. You took the other view. I'm just really asking, because you will have to give evidence on this. Do you regret it?
Remember, what my job is, and what everyone's job in the Cabinet is to provide the Prime Minister with the best advice that they can in their area of expertise. You'd expect me in my job to talk about the impact on people's jobs and livelihoods, and ultimately things that are bad for the economy, harm our long-term health as well, and our ability to fund things like the NHS.
There are some who say that you played a decisive role in blocking the lockdown. I think you're saying you played a role, but not necessarily decisive.
No, I think all these decisions are ultimately ones that the Prime Minister makes, and they're impossibly hard decisions to make.
The Chancellor is here to launch his £25 billion scheme to subsidise investment by companies like this one, BlackRow, via so-called super capital allowances that are intended to accelerate our return to prosperity.
I'm optimistic for a few reasons. We're seeing it here in this business that we're in today. At the peak, half of the workforce was on furlough. Now they are all but a handful back at work. The business is looking to grow, increase employment and invest more. So that's a case study in what's happening across the economy.
So chances are we will get the fastest recovery in 100 years.
I am confident that we're in a good position to recover strongly.
His earlier attempts to keep businesses afloat at the peak of the COVID-19 crisis included giving them emergency loans. I asked the Chancellor if it was appropriate that he'd been lobbied directly by the former Prime Minister David Cameron on behalf of one troubled company, Greensill Capital.
People just feel it's not a fair system that he can actually lobby you directly.
Well, I think it's important that whoever people are, whether they're Prime Ministers or anyone else, that they follow the rules and the guidelines that we have in place for lobbying. And we have those rules in place for good reason. But it is right that as an institution we engage with stakeholders, and we do that all the time when people come with policy suggestions. And remember, we were at a difficult point in the crisis, and it's right that we engage with people. But ultimately the decision was taken not to take the proposal forward.
After the bust, the worst depression possibly in British history. Rishi Sunak is hoping for boom, because all our jobs, including potentially his, depend on it. Robert Peston, News at 10 in Grimsby.